Hey, friend. All right, today I want to do a really short video about the hidden cost of relocation, right? Because, you've watched all the videos about all the things you need to consider about the country that you're considering. And we also talk about you doing the scouting trips and you budget for those, meaning your airfare, your lodging, food, transportation, right? And incidentals, like you always should have some cash on hand and a credit card in case you run into trouble, right? So that's one thing. But what are some of the hidden costs that might surprise you as you're trying to prepare to go abroad? Now, to move abroad. Well, the scouting is something that you have to budget for, right? Airfare. So, of course, you know that the further out your trip, the better rate you're gonna get. And you want to get those on those apps. I don't even, I use Cheapo Air, but they have is it Holofly and some other ones. Find out where you can get the best deals. And also, if you're on a budget, it's okay to do a late flight so that you stay at the airport, maybe one or two stops. If that doesn't bother you, you can budget for those. But if that is not a concern, don't worry about it. But just know that it needs to be a line item that you're gonna have your airfare, you're gonna have transport to and from the airport, you got to budget for food, and you got to budget for lodging, right? And let me encourage you not to book the cheapest Airbnb you find. Two people so far this year had told me that they have fallen prey to scams, uh, for lodging. So just make sure you book through a reputable, Airbnb or what is it? Booking.com, some of these other places that if you get into trouble, then you can get your money back. Okay. So you're going to budget for two scouting trips, a minimum, two places, right? And you may want to do another trip. What if you go there and you're like, well, I didn't get enough information. I think what I find is that when people say I'm going to go on a scouting trip, I've seen people say I'm going to be here for 5 days. That is not enough for you to get a feel for the place, to walk around, to look at different neighborhoods. It's not enough. I think a minimum of 2 weeks is what you should plan for. Now, a scouting trip is different from visiting. When you're visiting, and a lot of the ladies come and they say, I'm going to go to the canal, I'm going to go to Boquete, I'm going to go to this, you are not on a scouting trip, sis. If you want to go just visit sites and stuff, that is being a tourist. But when you are here or any place on a scouting trips, you're looking at neighborhoods, you're looking at walkability, you're looking at the availability of a convenience store, food stores. You're looking for pharmacies. You're a person of a certain age. You're gonna need some medications. You want to look for the fresh fruit and vegetable stands where they're at. You want to look for the hospitals, right? Things that are important to you. Do they have parks close by? You want to find out what is the internet like? Talk to people and find out if you've had some power outages and how long they lasted. How often do you get those? You want to find out, is the water drinkable? Do they flush the toilet? You need to give yourself time, and trust me, if you're here for 4 or 5 days, you're not gonna have time because again, you're gonna have to rest in between all your running around, okay? So some people would hire a driver to take them here and there. I personally prefer to just boots on the ground and go find places myself. Now, of course, if you're coming here to Panama in the summer, we're telling you to be careful because it gets really hot, right? So just be careful. Make sure you have your list and then you checking. You are an inspector gadget at that point. That is what a scouting trip is all about. And of course, your visa process, you would have already investigated that. If you're looking at 2 countries, you looked at that. You booking some consultation, free consultation with a couple of attorneys that people have recommended to you. Like if you ask me, I'll give you a couple of names. And you taking notes. And you ask for feedback from people. Who did you use and why? How much? Because I know that is a big thing. And that should be part of the budget. It should not surprise you. You need to know exactly in writing what the costs are. For Panama, it varies between $1,500 to $2,000, 2,000 plus. It depends on the attorney. And sometimes you need to make sure you ask the attorney, does the price include helping you get a driver's license if you're also inclined? Does the fee include getting your ID, your e-cedula? Because some attorneys are putting a charge on top of what they charge you. Some are really kind of off base. If they say $5,000, that is way too much. You being taken for a ride. So that's it. Between 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 max, if it includes your e-cedula. And the cedula, you don't even need the attorney to go get that. I got a friend to get it on her own. So you don't need to have an attorney for that, but most of them would include it in their fee. Okay, so 2 scouting trips, your visa fees, the cost for your criminal background check. To get your retirement letter doesn't cost you anything, but you gotta, if you're gonna send the paperwork over, it's a little pricey to come here to Panama, so include all that. Okay, so now the other thing you need to consider, if when you coming over, right, your budget here, once you land here, you ask people, how much do you pay for rent? And then it depends on your budget, sis. If you say, I want oceanfront, I want amenities, or I want a long stay hotel, find out how much it's going to cost you. Then you ask people how much you pay for utilities. And that could be a catch-22 because in the summer, you're going to pay more depending how hot-blooded you are, if you want your AC running all the time, or if you are one of those people who can do away with ceiling fans and fans around. If you're in Boquete, you may not have to pay much for electric, but if you're in the city, you will pay some, depending on your consumption, okay? So you got to budget for that. You budget for the phone. Cell phone is not that expensive, $20, $30 at the most, but you got to manage that electric bill because I saw 2 sisters saying that how their electric bill jumped from like 100 to 5. So be careful. And of course, if you are a pensionario visa holder, you want to be sure to get your discount, 25% discount. But once you have your budget for here, and then food, you're going to have to add that to your budget. What kind of eater are you? Do you want to go out 2, 3 times a week? You got to put it in the budget. If you're going to cook your own food, it's going to be much cheaper, okay? And you need to have a social budget, because you do want to go out once in a while. But are you going to go to a coffee shop or are you going to go to a 4-star restaurant? It gets pricey, okay? And then do you like to go to shows? A lot of sisters like to go listen to live music, and then they go to a event, they go to outing, they go on trips, they go to the beach, they go to the resort. Okay, sis, so you have to decide what is your lifestyle and what is your budget so you don't have any surprises. So that's here. Oh, the other line item you need to put in your budget is healthcare. Are you going to sign up with one of those Hospital Santa Fe plan or Hospital San Fernando? It might be about $200 a month. But what about these other things? Going to the doctor when you have a cold. I see sisters are going to Dr. What? Oh my goodness, Dr. Duncan, right? And then they're getting IVs and stuff. Well, I don't know how much that costs, but you need to have a line item so that you can go to the doctor when you need to get your teeth cleaned, to get your eyes checked, to get your general checkup, to get some labs, because these things are out of pocket, even though they are very affordable. So $200 a month if you have any insurance. If you don't, maybe $300 a month. Just make sure you have it somewhere in an envelope or something so that when you need to go to the doctor, you're not scrambling, okay? And then emergency fund. Oh my gosh, you never know. What if you didn't read your rental agreement and then the AC goes out and it's your responsibility? Always make sure it's the owner's responsibility. It's in writing, right? Maybe you got some mold and you had to pay somebody to come do that. Maybe you want a housekeeper. Some of the ladies have a housekeeper. You see, your budget is going to depend on what your lifestyle is and what you are used to, what your expectations are and what you want. The other thing, though, that people forget to include in their budget is your responsibilities at home. See, when I was here well, even now, I'm paying rent, but I also have a mortgage, right? So that is something you have to include in your budget. Do you have the funds for that? Because it can get stressful. Are you going to rent your house? If you rent your home, then you have some rental income. Well, let me tell you, sis, I did have that last year, but then I had some repairs that kind of ate away at whatever money. If you got something major with your roof or you have some water damage, and the way insurances are in the States now, it's probably easier for you to fix a repair than to report it to the insurance company, because chances are when it's time to renew, they're going to knock you out and say, based on your claims history, we will not renew this policy. That's being done. That happened to me. That's being done a lot. So a lot of time, based on what the cost of the repair is, it's probably cheaper for you to just pay it, but you have to have the funds for it, right? So you have to put in your budget what your liabilities are, whether you have rent and mortgage or just rent. And you know, when you have your home at home, they always tell you you have to put some money on the side so that when those repairs come, lawn care, any plumbing issues, maybe a little painting here and there, pest control, all these things, electric, water, internet. Well, hopefully, if you're renting the house, then some of that is going to offload on the renter that you don't have to pay for, like landscaping, internet, and electric. They're going to take care of that. But you need the rent, the insurance included, of course, and any repair. You want to have a fund for that. So don't forget that. What about if you have, those are surprises that people may not think about, and then you find out you're upside down, in a little bit because oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot about that. You can't afford to forget about anything in your budget when you're relocating, okay? Now, the other thing that you may want to consider, do you have any debt? I talk at length about how you're supposed to eliminate your debt before you decide to come over, right? Work on eliminate the debt before you retire. You can't come to Panama and then having to worry about a $30,000 credit card. You need to attack that over there first, okay? And then your fifth to your property manager, if you have one, and I highly recommend one. If you're gonna rent your home, make sure you have a good property manager that you vetted, that has been recommended to you by somebody. Okay. So I'll talk about consumer debt. And also, what about other liabilities that you have? Maybe you taking care of aging parents. I remember, we could have our mom when she was here. Let's suppose she's in assisted living, she may have incidentals that you're responsible for. Some assisted living, you have to bring the chucks, the diapers, and things like that, and toiletries, you're responsible for that. Plus, you may want to budget to give her some spending money so that, she can live a decent life. Maybe you paying something for your grandkids, tuition, daycare. What I'm saying is just because you're moving over here, life doesn't stop. So you want to be sure that you are looking at every single little thing so that you make sure your income and your expenses are a little bit lower than your income. So you have a little something, at least make sure they meet so that you are not taken by surprise. Okay. Um, I think that it's the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure that in addition to your expenses here on this side of the ocean, that you don't forget other expenses and liabilities that you may have on the other side, because they don't go away. Those are things that we call um, fixed costs, your rent, your insurance, electric, those things. It doesn't matter whether you employed or not, whether you're retired or not, you still have to pay your mortgage, right? You still have to pay the electric. And over here, I'm trying to think if I've had any surprises. I think if you're not careful, you're going to spend a lot of money on food. Now, me personally, I have an added expense because I'm doing the live on Sundays, and I try to do things that are not too crazy, exotic, and expensive. And I try to eat what I cook, so that kind of helps me. But I also love to share what I cook, so that's my little contribution. But please be sure that when you are considering relocating, that you are taking into consideration your scouting trips. And then now that we said the scouting trips and your expenses over here, but I don't think we added your coming over expenses, right? Once you've been on the two scouting trips and then you decide, yes, Panama is the place, now you have to budget your exit expenses, right? Another airfare. And even though you want to be a pension, if you don't have your pensioner visa already, you have to have a round trip tickets when you get to the airport. So hopefully the last trip you make here with your 10 suitcases, you would have your pensionado visa card, your ID. And then when you show it, they're not going to ask you to have a return ticket, right? The other thing you need to plan for is how many suitcases you're going to bring, because if you bring more than two, they're going to ding you. And my experience with Copa, charging me like 150 for a carry-on, it's gonna add up. And I remember when I bought the three, I paid because they were over 50 and I had three. So I think I paid almost, $400+ for those two extras for the suitcases. And that was over 2 years ago. So now they're even dinging you harsher. It's more. All right. So make sure you budget for that. The other thing too is, what are you going to bring with you? Because those, you're going to hire a freight company and that is going to cost you. And, they go by pallets, how many pounds, and it's a flat rate. So be ready to spend some dollars. Some people want to bring their cars. Ooh, good luck with that. That is very expensive to do. So you call a couple of companies, you get recommendations, and they're going to ask you, what are the dimensions? How big a pallet are you going to bring over? Then you decide what your budget can support. But don't forget that. Don't let it come to you as a surprise, okay? And then also you need to budget when you get over here some money to get some incidentals. So when I moved into this apartment, even though it is furnished, there was a dining room here I didn't like. So I ended up having to buy a dining room and the chairs. So you have to have a line item for you to get some furniture and maybe some other things to decorate the place, plants and stands. I mean, you might have to get a TV. Some people need to get a new mattress set, so you need to have some cash. Okay. So you cannot be totally cash poor when you are coming to Panama. Now, again, if you're someone on a very limited budget, you're gonna have to make do with a lot of things, right? Meaning that you might have to say, oh, well, I don't like the dining room, but I'm just gonna have to put up with it for now. You may want to do that. And then in terms of decorating the house, just like I said in the previous video, give yourself some time. Rome wasn't built in one day. So at least, once a month when you have a little money extra, you can go get a plant here and there, a pot here and there. You don't have to spend 2 months decorating. People do that if they have the money sitting around and they can spend it, which is fine. But I'm coming from the place where you have to manage your dollars more carefully than other people. Okay? So just don't get surprises in the budget. I think we covered everything, no surprises, scouting trips, at least a minimum of 2 locations. You may want to do 3. Your expenses coming over, your flight, your freight cost, the cost for your mini suitcases that you're going to bring, right? And then the cost of the Airbnb you're going to stay at while you are looking for your apartment. You got to put that in the budget, sis. Okay. And then when you get the apartment here in Panama, it's 1 month and then 1 month security. It's not 3. At least it's not like in Ghana where you have to pay for or in Africa, not just Ghana, where you have to pay for the whole year. Okay. So we have that for working for us. You only pay 2 months worth, which is great. And someone asked before, do the tenants look for a credit report? That's not a thing here in Panama. They do take a copy of your passport, and I think they do a credit check, right? From TransUnion and some of these other places. So hopefully there's nothing that's, that's flagging you for them to say they're not going to rent to you. I haven't met anybody who were refused rental agreement because of whatever. But I have heard of people trying to recoup their security deposit and not being able to get it for whatever reason. Maybe they did not take care of the apartment or they didn't fix something. That's why you have to read that agreement and see what you're responsible for. Like for me, I'm responsible to do a yearly or every 6 month AC cleanup. And I make sure I do that. Oh, I think I might be due now. So I need to I need to check that. I had it done in June, so it's probably due. All right. So don't get any surprises, sis. Pay attention and write down the stuff that you're responsible for. And it's better to, maybe I'll do a PDF and write all those things on, and then I will attach it in the description for you to just kind of make sure it's like, yep, I took care of that. Yep, I took care of that. Up, doesn't apply. NA. All right. It's better to do that than to get a surprise. All right, guys. So I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to do. It's great to come to Panama or to move abroad and, we're excited. It's easy to overlook certain things and make sure you have a little cushion, you have some cash. And this is something that we recommend now, that you have some liquid cash somewhere close to you in your apartment so that if you get into an emergency, then you're not left hanging, okay? So I think that's what I wanted to talk about today, and I hope you got some pointers from that. You can't ever have too much information when you're trying to move abroad. The more information, the merrier, the better prepared you're gonna feel. All right, guys? So, but of course, we're here. You can send us an email at tellmeaboutswra@gmail.com. If you want to book a call with me, it's very reasonable. There is a Calendly link in the description on the first page of my YouTube channel, and you can book a call. Otherwise, when you come to town and you want to say hey, we say hey. Yesterday, I met a sister at the event, the Cologne event, even though I got there late, but I got a chance to put she could put her eye on me and I put my eye on her. So we got to meet and I said, yep, see, I'm real. All right, guys. So have a good day and I will talk to you next week. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir à la prochaine. Bonne journée.